As they walked onto stage last night, everyone noticed, especially Dad.
Sasha and Malia, before our very eyes, you're growing up to become two strong, smart, beautiful young women.
Malia and Sasha once hoisted on their parents' arms. You can't help but marvel as they inch up right before our eyes. Malia now shoulder to shoulder with her mother. She's now 14, Sasha 11. The next 4 years for them likely marked with first dances, college applications, and dating.
Teenagehood is complicated. I should also point out that I have men with guns that surround them often. It means they never get in a car with a boy who had a beer.
Work, but
and they're not very good at lying. We joke sometimes about how, you know, Malia's getting to the age now, and boys start calling, and
yes.
You know, sort of. I always talk about how one of the main incentives for running again was continuing Secret Service protections, so that there are men with guns around at all.
Today, the call for tougher gun laws got some star power.
Newtown.
An A-list of Hollywood celebrities teaming up to release this new video.
Demand a plan.
Right now.
Have people been coming up to you on this issue?
Oh, yeah.
And this is the man behind it, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, more determined than ever in his fight against gun violence. His #1 target, the NRA. What would you like the NRA to know?
That I think the public has finally come to the conclusion we are going to do this whether you like it or not. And in fact, Connecticut is because of some of their actions.
The NRA believes that it's working in the best interest of the American people.
Oh, I don't know that. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to work in the best interest of gun owners. They don't have any responsibility for the American people. They're paid by the gun owners. Nothing wrong with that. It's the rest of us that cave into them who are disgraceful.
So I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to know that if you're on the no-fly list, you can't board a plane in this country, you can still buy a gun.
Absolutely, and that's because the NRA has cowed Congress into believing that if they go against the NRA, they're not going to get reelected.
This is just the latest chapter in the mayor's crusade, who says he's attended far too many police funerals.
We've got to do something to protect those who are trying to protect us. There are armor-piercing bullets advertised for sale. The last time I saw a deer wearing a bulletproof vest was a long time ago. The only reason you would buy an armor-piercing bullet is to kill a cop.
So let's just look at the assault weapons ban.
Yep.
We had one in this country for 10 years. Every single weapon used by the shooter in Connecticut would have been okay under the old assault weapons law. They were all exceptions.
Yeah, okay, so the law is flawed. Fix it.
Isn't it pretty hard to define what is an assault weapon? Because it's so easy to write around for manufacturers to create weapons that...
Well, if it can fire a lot of bullets very quickly, that's a good place to start, okay?
And hunters
then you
would
can
say,
argue what a lot is. Okay, let's pick it. Let's say 3. If you haven't hit the deer with 3 shots, you're a pretty lousy shot. That deer deserves to get away. Let's get serious here.
But that would ban most pistols. That would ban most...
No, but pistols are different. You have to pull the trigger each time. An assault weapon, you basically hold it, goes... Blah, blah, blah.
No, those are fully automatic weapons.
Okay.
So fully automatic weapons.
If you have a big magazine, you'll solve your problem. You still have to pull a trigger, but if it's 30 bullets or 20 bullets or 10 bullets before you run out, I would suggest the deer is, God wants that deer to live.
But according to gun owners, what you've just described would ban most guns that hunters use today.
If that's what they're using, for God's sakes, why don't they use dynamite? Just make it easier. I mean, what's the sport? The statistics say that if you have a gun at home, you are 22 times as likely to shoot a family member or a friend as to somebody breaking in. Don't try to go for a gun. You've got somebody pointing a gun at you. You think you're going to be able to outshoot them? That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
But some point out that's easy to say for a man who has 24-hour police protection. When I come in to interview you, I got to go through metal detectors. There are men with guns out there to make sure that you're safe. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I come in to interview you, I got to go through metal detectors. There are men with guns out there to make sure that you're safe. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are people, lots of people, who say, let's make our kids safe in the same way. Barbara Boxer yesterday said the National Guard should be deployed. There should be to schools across the country.
Oh, God, that's ridiculous. You can't live your life that way. You'd be in a prison.
Why do so many Americans not feel angry enough to demand further gun control?
Well, I would take it one step further. I don't understand why the police officers across this country don't stand up collectively and say, we're going to go on strike. We're not going to protect you unless you, the public, through your legislature, do what's required to keep us safe. After all, police officers want to go home to their families. And we're doing everything we can to make their job more difficult, but more importantly, more dangerous by leaving guns in the hands of people who shouldn't have them and letting people who have those guns buy things like armor-piercing bullets. The only reason to have an armor-piercing bullet is to go through a bullet-resistant vest. The only people that wear bullet-resistant vests are our police officers. And that's true across this whole country. So
And if you listen to the NRA, there is the U.S. Army has a rifle. They call it a rifle. It's what I would call a cannon, okay? It's attached to the front of a tank or a moving vehicle. It shoots a nuclear warhead. The NRA would say, oh, that's a gun, and people have a right to have that. I mean, where's the limit here?
But the president has to be the leader on this. You know, when he was standing there in front of the microphone in Aurora the other night, you know, he's such a great guy. I mean, he's the heart that he has, the things that he said were so powerful. And yet, when he brought his own children into it, when he said, you know, my 2 daughters go to the movies, and what if it were them? Well, I guess if President Obama is watching right now, and I say this with all due respect, what if it were them? What if it were them?
Yeah, I always talk about how one of the main incentives for running again was continuing Secret Service protections so that there are men with guns around at all times.